Mr. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Bender?
Here.
Mr. Groby? Mr. Canulet?
Here.
Mr. Belisario?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien? Here. Mr. Stefanczyk? Mr. Artigue? Mr. Smith?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. The first item presentation is postponed indefinitely. Little Miss Catherine's family is out of town, and we'll have to reschedule when she can make it, depending on a school night. So moving to item 2, we have a certificate of recognition to Bonnie C's Restaurant as Business of the Month for August, Mr. Tim Thompson. And I know Richie Artigue, Councilman Artigue, is good friends too with you, Tim and Miss Bonnie. So I'm going to ask Richie to come down with me. Miss Pat, you want to come up? I apologize. Sure. This is Tim Thompson and Miss Bonnie Copeland.
Thanks. Thank you.
This Business of the Month is for Bonnie C's Cafe on Front Street in Slidell, which is in my council district. And Richie is known, I know Tim for quite a while, Bonnie as well. Actually, Miss Pat and I had dinner one time at their restaurant when the campaign was on. Well, you never had a campaign, but we didn't have to. I have to tell you, the food there is delicious. You get plenty of it. And one of the reasons that I wanted to recognize Bonnie C's is that either Tim or Miss Bonnie will make it to your table as local business people and ask you, are you enjoying what you're eating? Do you have enough? And it's typical of the small business owners that we always have to support in our community. And if something interesting that gets you to go there as well. Ms. Bonnie is Mr. Al Copeland, who's deceased daughter. They have a motorcycle in front with a 1957 Chevrolet rear end on it. And it has a Corvette engine in it. I was going to recommend to Steve, if he here tonight, he might want to do that this year instead of the NASCAR, you know? But have you been on that, Tommy? Is it fast?
Oh, yeah.
It's mine. I've written it all around the world, all around the United States.
Anyway, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Y'all deserve it. Come on, Rich.
Great liver. Great liver.
So much.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we would like to say. Well, we'd like to first of all thank the council for giving us such a great honor. This is a real good recognition for us, and we really appreciate it. Bonnie and I, we work 90 hours a week to do everything that we can to make our customers happy at Bonnie C's, and we appreciate it. We will.
We will.
Very proudly so. Thank you.
Thank y'all
Great
again.
job.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, item number 3 is a certificate of recognition to Troop 85 Eagle Scout Andy Slammer, and this will be presented by Mr. Falconer, Councilman Falconer, and our parish president, Ms. Brister. Mr. Gould is not available for the meeting tonight.
So you need to come up too.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Just step right here, and I'm going to read this. This is always a great event for us, and we're very proud of your accomplishment. Let me just read the certificate of recognition to Andy Slama. Slama? The Parish Council desires to acknowledge the youth of this parish for their positive achievements and accomplishments. In particular, those who choose to remain in school, participate in their religious convictions, are morally and community conscious, and actively pursue productive lifestyles. With the constant media exposure given to negative youth behavior, it is time we acknowledge the younger generation of this parish who are honest, law-abiding, and promote positive attitudes. The Parish Council is proud to recognize a young man who has not been overcome by negative peer pressure, one who knows that perseverance and commitment can achieve goals, a young man who has been an active member of Boy Scouts of America Troop 85 and completed the requirements worthy of the rank of Eagle Scout. Andy has apparently set high standards and goals for himself and will no doubt go far in his chosen career and achieve the success he deserves in life. It is a fitting gesture for parish government to acknowledge and recognize Andy Slama for earning the rank of Eagle Scout with Boy Scout Troop 85. This certificate of recognition was approved and presented on July 11th, 2013. We had it set up for before. Signed by Marty Gould, Councilman District 5, and Patricia Brister, Parish President. One of you guys got to
We might want to recognize Dorothy Garcia, who's also here, Dorothy Garcia, excuse me, who is also here, who works with our scouts all the time, and she does a wonderful job. Thank you all for being here.
Okay, I'm going to move to Mr. Falconer. Excuse me. Oh, I apologize, Ms. Pat, number 4. Item number 4 is presentation to recognize the 75th anniversary of the Kaplan Eye Clinic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Kaplan, if you could come up with your staff, please. And I might mention he is my eye doctor. I think it's wonderful. Whereas the late Dr. Harry B. Kaplan began the Kaplan Eye Clinic in 1938 after graduating from Southern College of Optometry and went on to attend LSU Medical School to receive his medical degree in 1944 while continuing his eye care practice. And whereas Dr. Harry B. Kaplan practiced medicine for more than 65 years at various locations in the New Orleans area with the help of his wife Janice. And whereas, in 1979, Dr. Daniel I. Kaplan joined the Kaplan Eye Clinic, and later that year, the clinic moved to its current location in Metairie, and the practice continued to grow, adding a location in Mandeville that opened in 1995. And whereas, thanks to loyal patients and a dedicated staff, the Kaplan Eye Clinic has enjoyed steady growth and looks forward to continuing to provide quality eye care utilizing the latest technology in a caring atmosphere. Whereas nationally recognized ophthalmic consultant Alan J. DeCourt of Covington, Louisiana, has researched and determined that Kaplan Eye Clinic is the oldest eye care practice in the state of Louisiana. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as Parish President of St. Tammany, do hereby recognize Kaplan Eye Clinic's 75th anniversary. And thank you for being part of our community. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being part of the community.
Okay, now moving to items off the floor. We have one more presentation with people here in the audience. So, Mr. Falconer?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we open the items off the floor agenda for the purpose of moving the item number one, opening the floor for that item number one, presentation of the Baptist Community Ministry and North Shore Community Foundation Grant Award.
Okay, motion by Mr. Falconer for the purpose of opening item off the floor for number one only, and that was seconded by Mr. Tanner. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, Mr. Falconer?
I don't know where she went. Whoops. Okay, if we could get the representatives of the North Shore Community Foundation and the Baptist Community Ministry to join us at the podium.
I'm going to read another blurb that I thought I had given away to Dr. Kaplan. That's why I was chasing him out the door. The Behavioral Health Research and Renewal Project. The Behavioral Health Task Force of St. Tammany Parish has done amazing work in the short time it has been established. The many components of care that are offered through this group ultimately amount to a healthier, more productive citizenry in St. Tammany Parish. We are always, however, in search of information as to the whys and the hows of mental health issues and mental health care. Why does someone come to need behavioral health care, and how can we close the gaps in the care we provide? Thanks to the generous benefactors like the North Shore Community Foundation and Baptist Community Ministries, we will begin a new chapter in our Behavioral Health Task Force evolution. Baptist Community Ministries has awarded a grant in the amount of $173,000, and the North Shore Community Foundation has awarded a matching grant in the amount of $86,500 for a total grant value of $259,500 to the Louisiana Public Health Institute. This collaborative effort between Louisiana Public Health Institute and St. Tammany Parish Behavioral Health Task Force will benefit our community to improve the behavioral health system by increasing access to services and quality of care. These funds will be used by the Behavioral Health Task Force in a partnership with the Louisiana Public Health Institute in a project called the Behavioral Health Research and Renewal Project. This grant award will allow our parish to evaluate and transform the behavioral health system so we can continue to answer the questions surrounding mental health issues and offer a standard of care based on the new and current evidence specific to our population's ever-changing needs. We are thrilled to venture into this new partnership with the Louisiana Public Health Institute, and we are infinitely grateful to our generous supporters for enabling us to continue to offer access to quality and cutting-edge mental health care to the citizens of St. Tammany. I thank you very much. Susan Bonnet, who is representing the North Shore Community Foundation, thank you. Thank you very much. Susan, do you want to make a few comments before President?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We were just, this is a great example for those of you who don't know what the North Shore Community Foundation is. This is just a great example of what it means to have a community foundation in your region. The fact that Baptist Community Ministries had this money available to do this project but needed a matching grant or it wouldn't happen led Parish President Brister to come to us and see what we could do, and we, through some leverage and some partnerships we have, were able to access the additional $86,000. So together, this parish now has the ability to, with the work of the Louisiana Public Health Institute, to do an incredibly detailed evaluation of what's here, what works, what isn't working, where are the holes in the system, and how do we begin to transform the system of mental health and mental health needs in this parish. So we're very happy to be able to do this. We hope that you as a parish and the parish leadership can recognize the value of your community foundation and use us whenever you need us for these kinds of things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan, very much. I think there's a picture opportunity. This is good. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I think I'm finished.
Moving to the consent calendar, prior to the council meeting, we have no ordinances for introduction or resolutions that have been requested to be pulled. So let me go down the line. Mr. Dean, do you have any you want to pull? Mr. Sharp? Mr. Thompson? Mr. Falconer? Mr. Tanner?
Yes, sir. Number 9.
On introduction?
Number 50.
Okay, that is pulled. Number 9, ordinance for introduction, pulled by Mr. Tanner. Mr. Groby, Mr. Canulette, Mr. Bellisario, Ms. O'Brien, Mr. Ortiz, Mr. Smith. Okay. Excuse me, Ms. Maureen? Which one, ma'am? Okay, is that 3 on ordinances for introduction? Resolutions? Okay, I need a motion to adopt the consent calendar. Motion by Mr. Canulette, seconded by Mr. Bellisario. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, moving to page 3, ordinance calendar, number 9, ordinance calendar for introduction, number 5054, ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire by act of donation certain rights-of-way in or servitudes located along Olman Road East and further for the parish to incorporate the donated property into the parish maintenance system. Mr. Tanner.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. I bring this,
Excuse me, Mr. Tanner. Yeah, please.
I bring this off the floor because I know there's somebody here that wants to speak on that, and I wanted to give him that opportunity if he wanted to. Mr. Dutch, Homer Dutch is back there, and I want to give him that opportunity to
Certainly.
ask any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. My name is Homer Dutch. I live out in Walheim, and Olman Road East adjoins my property. And apparently the right-of-way, the parish would not cut. They claimed at first that they had a 60-foot right-of-way for the road, but they wouldn't cut the grass. It was growing up, and I was maintaining between my fence and the edge of the road. So finally I went to the parish and asked them why they wouldn't cut all of the property, because I was cutting it with my equipment. And they sent me a letter stating that they found no formal dedication of a right-of-way. So I spoke with them there and told them, if y'all don't maintain it, then I'm going to put up a new fence. They said they had 18 inches back of the ditch, was all the parish had. I said, well, okay, I'll construct my new fence along the 18 inches. So that's what I did, and now they're trying to get the right-of-way back where they to the 60 foot, I imagine, but according to my letter from the parish, they only had 18 inches from the back of the ditch. So I just wanted to present my case. My fence is out there, and now the parish wants to get an act of donation for the right-of-way after the fact. So that's all I have to say about it.
Okay. Mr. Dutch, thank
Thank
you. Ms. Bristol, who would you like me to go to? Ms. Rabelais?
Or, this is a case that we have been working with the Department of Public Works. And when we got the request to look into what right-of-way existed, it was determined that was no formal dedication, so that we only had tacit. The landowner daughter, who thought that her father had dedicated originally, has come forward and wishes to dedicate the full amount of the right-of-way. And so we're trying to address that situation.
Okay. So are we going to, have we been in communication with Mr. Dutch other than that letter?
Yes, we've been working the case through code enforcement, which is
Okay.
how the complaint originally came to the legal department.
Okay.
And
All right.
yes.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Tanner, do you want to make a motion to introduce? Okay, motion by Mr. Tanner to introduce, seconded by Mr. Thompson. That's all we need. Under resolutions, number 3, resolution CS number C-3781, resolution to authorize the parish president to submit an action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Ms. O'Brien.
Yes, I just wanted to give them an opportunity to explain what this is going to, in fact, do for the community, and note that it is pertaining to disaster recovery.
That is correct. The resolution 3781 is actually pertaining to an action plan for Isaac disaster recovery funds that the parish is getting an allocation directly from HUD for, and that is an action plan that the staff is currently working on to address unmet needs from the Hurricane Isaac. And so that's what this particular resolution does, is authorize us, or allow us to go ahead and submit that action plan.
Okay. I just wanted to allow an explanation on that one.
Okay. I need someone then to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
to
Mr.
approve.
Bellisario.
However you so-
Excuse me?
That's okay, go ahead.
Motion by Mr. Bellisario to adopt, seconded by Mr. Smith. Please vote.
Motion passes. 11 yeas, 1 nay, 2 absent.
Thank you. Okay, moving to appeals. Item 1 is Andreas Antzoulis appealing the zoning commission denial of a plan review for a 2,041 square foot retail building located west of Highway 21, south of Arbor Walk Drive, north of Dummy Line Road, being 339 Highway 21 Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Antzoulis.
Mr. Chairman, I believe, Brian, do you want to come up? Brian Pigeon is going to represent the owner.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Brian Pigeon. I represent the owner on the property, and we agree with what the staff recommendations are. There was several that Mr. Dean has gone over with us, and we're in complete agreement, and we comply with all his recommendations.
Okay, if I could, and then we just carry on with the process.
Sure.
But this is a real abnormal piece of property, abnormal shaped piece of property, not abnormal property, but abnormal shaped. Could be abnormal too, it could be gold on it or something, I don't know. But anyway, it's got a 750 square foot building on it. I think it's less than an acre. The problem is that it's within the Highway 21 corridor. As you all know, it's like a ton boundary issues and everything else within the Highway 21 corridor. So if you literally followed every technicality with the corridor overlay plan, he would have, I believe, 3 feet to build a building. Well, we went and we've zoned it in C4, but then we're not allowing anything to be built on it. It went before the zoning commission. I believe the zoning department actually suggested that it be passed. The zoning commission did not, and I think it was based on a lot of fear that if we allow this, but a lot of things, but a lot of fear that if we allowed this, we would be setting a precedent elsewhere. I don't believe that we would, and so I just kind of going forward. They would like to build about a 2,000 square foot building on it. That would be in place of the current 750 square foot building. There are 5 variances. As it appeared, it looked like about 17 variances. There were actually 5 variances, and all of them had to, or waiver requests, and it all had to do with boundaries and building setbacks and so forth. They're actually going to plant more trees. We can't keep it out of commerce. I think there's a fear of it being somewhat of a taking, so we can't keep it out of commerce. And there is going to be a buffer between it or there's already currently a buffer between it and the residential. They'll follow whatever all the other recommendations, and there were 17 recommendations. So with that being said, and I do know that there might be some, I believe Sandra Slifer might want to say something, but go ahead. Thanks. I just wanted to explain that to the council.
Thank you. Sandra Slifer, I'm here representing the Association of Associations, the AOA. I know, something else. This was actually started when Rick Wilkie was still leading the AOA meetings, that the AOA unanimously voted to not, we are not in favor of this change, in terms of the variances, that, we are concerned that it will send a precedent, that at the last AOA meeting that was held on Thursday, July 18th, which was before we knew that Councilman Dean was going to recommend approval of this particular property, that there was already concern expressed by the residents that, that after the comprehensive rezoning, that there have been a number of changes that are taking place in that Highway 21 corridor south of I-12, so that the request was made by the residents who were there for me to formally ask that that I ask the parish to convene a series of meetings that would basically outline a new plan of development for that corridor south of I-12 on Highway 21, just so that we've got a plan in place, because we feel as if it's being done in a fairly ad hoc way, and that there's a lot of concern by the residents regarding the drip, 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 that's taking place there, and that, again, the AOA is not in favor of this rezoning, and we do request that, there be some consideration for having these, a small area meeting, that would look at this area south of I-12 for a number of reasons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dean?
If I could respond, first of all, it's not a rezoning, so it's not a rezone. And there has not been any rezoning south of I-12 since the comprehensive rezoning. Now, having said that, there hasn't. Name one.
There will be some.
All right,
in
but
August.
it was all part of the comprehensive rezoning. But having said that, it certainly makes a lot of sense that if you want to do, or if we want to do a small area plan, like we've done before in several districts, I'd be happy to do that. We've always talked about being real careful about any commercial south of I-12 going on Highway 21, going toward Madisonville. And we've been real careful with that. Now, this was zoned NC4 during the comprehensive rezoning, and it's not changing. All this is a plan review, and the zoning is staying the same. And my point is that if we don't allow this, at least some kind of leeway, and I don't believe, and maybe I can just turn to the attorneys here, and I know y'all don't like to be pigeonholed into a statement, no offense, but I believe that we could, first of all, there's not another piece of property like this on Highway 21, but secondly, with the fact that we know that it's a very abnormal piece of property, we know that that we'd be kind of taking a look at, is this a taking if we totally disallowed any kind of building on that, which I think if you stick to the law, you could build on 3 feet, with a boundary. It's a real odd shape. I don't know how it started to begin with. I don't know how it became a lot of record to begin with, but anyway, it is. So I would have to say that if we didn't allow some of these variances, that property would be there in perpetuity. Anyway, it is not a rezoning.
I understand. I'm sorry, that I did misspeak, but it was during the plan review that this was brought up.
Okay, and I'd be happy to set up a meeting to discuss that.
Okay.
And in terms of the precedent, that you asked if this would set a precedent, I don't think that was answered.
Wait, say that again?
I do not believe it would set a precedent because of the unusual shape of the property and the fact, as you pointed out, it is zoned NC4, which this certainly brings up considerations on our end. Is this, in fact, would it be a taking if we prohibited this structure from being constructed? So I think there's a legal underlying basis to go ahead and approve it.
Well, we look forward to working with the parish on the small area plan, a revision to that plan for the area that's south of I-12. I think that it really is needed in order to make sure that the development that gets put in there, is done with some forethought and, just makes sense. So we will look forward to that meeting.
I'd be happy to set up several meetings. With that being said, I'd like to override the zoning denial, please.
Okay, motion by Mr. Dean to override the zoning denial, seconded by Mr. Sharp. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Mr. Dean, I need a motion on a resolution.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dean to adopt a resolution, seconded by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Thank you. Appeal number 2 is Matthew Allen and Little Chafunkta River Association appealing the Planning Commission approval on June 11, 2013 of preliminary subdivision review of Pruden Creek, resubmitted, Ward 3, District 3. Mr. Allen.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Matthew Allen, President of Little Chafunkta River Association, and we're really very concerned with this development. 7 years has gone by since the original approval of this development, and nothing has happened on the property. And the situation's changed during that time. This one was actually brought up for delaying, which I would like to see it go through the whole planning period again if you don't outright deny it. The first thing is this property does flood. And with the Bigger Waters Act so much in the news and the threat of rising insurance rates, allowing a development of this size in the flood zone is very inappropriate. And it's actually contradictory to all the efforts that President Brister has been making in Washington for relief of the flood insurance rates for us. And it's just kind of contradictory while the parish is still approving developments of what will occur and have repeat flooding again. The preliminary DFIR maps, which have not been approved, were released in 2008 after the zoning approval, original zoning approval of this, and the majority of the property is in those flood zones for that. And then these flood zones are higher than the ones currently used. And using the current flood zone maps, almost 1/3 of the houses are in the flood zone A for this development. And this also opens the parish to further mitigation costs and MS3 costs for the permits. Now, according to a development, the original agreement with the Nature Conservancy, which abuts this property, the houses will be built to 32 feet. And if that's the case, well, what about the roads and cars? I can remember a time in '83 when we went out and saw the water rising on the river, went in to get the keys, and we went back out, and our cars were already flooded. It comes up that fast at times. Do we really want to put 60 families in jeopardy of this? These homes should also be raised. At the Planning Commission, Mr. Shane said that the houses would be put on slabs, on grade. These houses should be raised to allow floodwaters underneath them. By raising pads for them, you're actually putting properties such as Pinmill Lakes in further danger of flooding. And they haven't flooded yet, but it's just not a really good idea. Now, in the last year, there have been 2 moderate floods that have flooded the lower part of this property. Isaac flooded at 26.8 feet at the Little Tchefuncte River stage and flooded the lower boundaries. And then in January of this year, they had a 27.5-foot flood that flooded the roadway and the lower parts of this property too, where the sewage plant will go. Now, this property, according to USGS records, has gone completely underwater at least 8 times the last 50 years. That averages every 6 years. And as y'all may realize, we had been in a drought for a number of years in the past, and it seems we're coming out of that. So this property will be flooding again. In the 1983 flood, that was 4 feet higher. And that flood was recorded at 34 feet and includes a record of drowning flock of goats near the property. So this is not really a good place to put 60 homes on grade. Also, after talking with Ms. McGinnis, who runs the Nature Conservancy property adjacent to it, developers seems not to be living up to the original agreement of raised houses. They also agreed to notify the Nature Conservancy of comment periods for the DEQ when it came up for the sewage plant and the stormwater, but both of these have been applied for as general permits, which require no comments to the DEQ, so the DEQ won't even know that these plants are in the 100-year flood zone. This is going to be, and with the Little Tchefuncte River, my biggest concern is the sewer system. This is a gravity-fed sewer system with the plant at the lowest point on the property. And gravity-fed needs to be open to the air. The pipes don't fill all the way up in gravity system. They flow better if they're 2/3 full. And when it does flood, this will inundate the whole system, preventing the sewage from being transported and actually washing it into the environment before it reaches the plant. We really do need to place a regional plant in the area. With this plant, if it is approved, there will be 3 plants into a little creek called Horse Branch Creek, which is already kind of endangered and muddy and not in its original state. This plant should be moved to at least to a higher ground with a force main that is closed to prevent floodwaters from inundating it. And also, they should have had a new traffic study after 7 years. Things have changed, a lot more people have moved in. At a minimum, this needs to go back through the whole planning process. And in reality, this project should not go forward because of the flooding risk to all the residents that would build there. Thank you very much.
Do I have permission to speak?
Give us your name again,
Amy
please.
Gillier.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
a resident on Penn Mill Road.
Okay, ma'am, Reed, that's 30 seconds before rebuttal?
Right. He's got 30 seconds left.
Okay, so you have 30 seconds left
Okay.
in your original 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm a resident on Penn Mill Road. I live actually right across the street from where they want to build this subdivision. And I do have a creek that runs through the back part of my property. And it seems like almost every year when we get a heavy rainstorm, not even during a hurricane, just a heavy rainstorm, that creek overflows. And I'm not in a flood zone, but the past flood in January, we did get water in our shop. We have a 1,200 square foot shop in the back part of our property. So we did have to go out and get flood insurance. So I just wanted to mention that, that we are getting more and more water on our land, on our property every year. Another thing is that we have one subdivision that was approved down the street from us on Penn Mill back, I think it was in 2006, that has gone bankrupt, and so now it's a big eyesore. And then they have, I believe, 2 other subdivisions that were approved on our street where nothing's happened yet with that. And I just feel like if we approve another subdivision with multiple homes, our street just cannot handle that traffic. We have 2 ways.
Ma'am, let me stop you 1 second, okay? Just so that your side understands, you're into your rebuttal time now, which is
Okay.
2 minutes.
Okay.
So you have a total of about another minute and 50 seconds left.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say, I don't think our road can handle more traffic. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So I'm Alex Intro with the Nature Conservancy.
Okay.
Request
Come-
permission to speak.
Okay, yes, please
Thank you,
state
Mr.
your name.